Namaste and welcome to Shubham Pradhan Exclusive. How often do you pause and wonder about your own awareness, that feeling of being you, experiencing the vibrant red of a sunset, the taste of your morning chai, or the complex emotions that a piece of music can evoke? This in a world, the subjective experience, what it is. This, my friends, is the profound mystery of consciousness. For centuries, it's been the playground of philosophers and mystics. Today, scientists are joining the quest, peering into the intricate folds of our brain. And just as we think we are getting closer, a new player enters the arena: artificial intelligence, challenging our very definitions of what it means to be sentient. In today's episode, we are diving deep into one question: what is consciousness? Is it merely a byproduct of 3 pounds of matter between our ears? Or is it something more? And how does the rapid advancement of AI force us to confront these ancient questions with new urgency? We'll explore this through the lens of modern science, Western philosophy, and also touch upon some profound insights from Indian philosophical traditions. And yes, we might even touch upon those moments of existential wonder or crisis that these questions can stir within us. I know they have for me. So let's start with the basics, or what seems basic. What is consciousness? In everyday terms, it's often equated with being awake and aware of our surroundings and ourselves. But dig a little deeper, and it gets complex. Scientists often talk about neural correlates of consciousness, specific brain activities that seem to coincide with particular conscious experiences. They can show which parts of our brain light up when you see the color blue or feel joy. This is incredibly valuable, suggesting a strong link between brain function and conscious states. We have different levels of consciousness, from focused attention to daydreaming, to the states we enter in deep sleep or under anesthesia. Philosophers, however, point to what David Chalmers famously called the hard problem of consciousness. The easy problems, relatively speaking, are about how the brain processes information, how it controls behavior, and how we focus attention. But the hard problem is why and how any of that physical processing should give rise to subjective experience, the what it's like aspect. Why does the firing of neurons in a specific pattern feel like anything at all? Why do we have this rich, private, first person movie playing in our minds? The subjective quality, these individual instances of experience, are sometimes called qualia. Interestingly, Indian philosophy has grappled with this for millennia. In Vedanta, for instance, consciousness or chit isn't just a product of individual mind or brain, it's often seen as fundamental, a pure awareness that underlies all existence, part of the ultimate reality. Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. The Mandukya Upanishad explores 4 states of consciousness: waking, which is Jagrat, dreaming, which is Swapna, deep sleep, which is Shushupti, and a fourth state, Turiya, which is the pure consciousness itself, beyond the subject object duality. This offers a perspective where consciousness isn't just in us, but something we are a part of. This naturally leads to our next big question: is consciousness purely a product of the brain, or is it something more? The dominant view in neuroscience today is physicalism or materialism. The idea that consciousness is an emergent property of complex neural activity. Just like liquidity is an emergent property of H2O molecules arranged in a certain way, consciousness, in this view, emerges from the incredibly complex interactions of billions of neurons. There's a lot of evidence supporting the brain's crucial role. Brain damage can alter or extinguish consciousness completely. Specific chemicals can change our subjective experiences as well. But this view for some quite doesn't satisfy the hard problem. If consciousness is just brain activity, How does mere complexity bridge the gap to subjective feeling? This is where some modern philosophers and even some scientists start to explore other ideas as well. Some propose concepts like panpsychism, the idea that consciousness in some rudimentary form might be a fundamental property of the universe, present even in particles. It sounds radical, yes, but it's an attempt to address why consciousness seems to pop into existence only in highly organized biological matter. Indian philosophical systems like Samkhya also offer nuanced views. Samkhya posits two fundamental realities, Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha, which is consciousness, the passive observer, or also the pure spirit, and Prakriti, matter, energy, and the observed world, including minds and bodies. In this framework, consciousness or Purusha is distinct from the mind, which is an evolute of Prakriti. The mind is the instrument, but Purusha is the experiencer. So, consciousness isn't created by mind or brain, but rather reflected or manifested through it. Now, grappling with this question, am I just my brain? Is my sense of self, my deepest feelings, just an illusion created by neurons? This can be profoundly unsettling. I'll admit, during my own periods of questioning, exploring these ideas felt like teetering on the edge of an existential void. If it's all just mechanics, what's the meaning? But then another thought arises. Even if it is an emergent property of the brain, isn't that emergence itself utterly miraculous? The fact that the inert matter can organize itself to become aware of itself is in itself a source of awe. And if, as some Eastern traditions suggest, consciousness is more fundamental than our individual lives, a part of a much grander cosmic play of awareness. Both perspectives, in their own way, can be inspirational. And now let's turn to the modern challenger, artificial intelligence. How does AI challenge our understanding of consciousness? We are seeing AI models, especially large language models, perform tasks that we once thought required genuine understanding and even creativity. They can write poetry, compose music, engage in surprisingly coherent conversations, and even generate philosophical sounding text about consciousness itself. So the big question is, are they conscious? Could they be? Most AI researchers and philosophers today would say no, not in the way humans are. What these AIs are doing brilliantly is pattern recognition and prediction on a massive scale. They've been trained on vast data sets of human language and can predict the most plausible next word, or pixel, or musical note. This can simulate understanding, conversation, and creativity, but it likely lacks genuine subjective experience that in what it's like feeling. Think of the famous Chinese room argument by philosopher John Searle. Imagine a person in a room who doesn't understand Chinese but has a massive rule book. Chinese questions are passed in, and by following the rule book, they pass out perfect Chinese answers. To someone outside, it may look like the person in the room understands Chinese, but does the person actually understand? Cyril argued no. They are just manipulating symbols. Current AI, in many ways, is like that person in the Chinese room. However, AI forces us to sharpen our definitions. If an AI behaves indistinguishably from a conscious human in every external way, on what grounds can we deny its consciousness? What are the reliable markers of inner experience? This is a huge debate. Is it about the underlying architecture? Does it need a biological substrate like our brains? Or could consciousness arise in silicon if the complexity and organization are right? This is where the challenge is also an opportunity. As we try to build more conscious AI, we learn more about what makes us conscious. It makes us question if our consciousness is really as unique or as special as we thought. Or perhaps it highlights its profound depth even more. If AI could one day achieve genuine consciousness, the ethical implications are staggering. How could we treat conscious machines? What rights would they have? These aren't just sci fi questions anymore. They are becoming relevant philosophical and societal concerns. For me, the rise of sophisticated AI doesn't diminish human consciousness at all. It makes me even appreciate its subtleties even more. The empathy, the self awareness that questions its own existence, the capacity for unconditional love, the pang of existential crisis that leads to a search for meaning. These feel qualitatively different from even the most advanced algorithms we have today. So, where does that leave us? The nature of consciousness remains one of the deepest, most fascinating unsolved mysteries. It sits at the nexus of neuroscience, computer science, philosophy, and indeed our personal spiritual and existential quests. Whether it is an emergent dance of neurons, a fundamental aspect of cosmos as hinted in Indian thought, or something else entirely, the journey to understand it is profoundly human. These questions aren't just intellectual exercises, they touch the core of who we are and how we relate to the universe. And perhaps that feeling of wonder, the drive to explore, even the discomfort of existential crisis, is itself a hallmark of this incredible thing we call consciousness. It is an ongoing exploration, of course, and the answers might change as science and AI evolve. But the questions themselves invite us to live more awareness and relatively. What are your thoughts on consciousness? Has AI made you consider or reconsider what it means to be aware? I'd love for you to ponder these questions. That's all for this episode of Shubham Pradhan Exclusive. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the mind. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and find the inspiration in the mysteries that surround us and are within us. Namaste.